Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another episode. If not now, when? Today, oh my goodness, I don't know how you feel. I am extremely excited. We are meeting the one and the only Raymond Kaminski.
What a good opening. Thank you,
And
Wen.
you might not know about Raymond. Let me tell you a little bit about him. Oh my goodness. Raymond started his engineering career at NASA. Wow, dream of many of us. After 8 years in NASA, Raymond decided to start his career in private sector because why not? In his first deep dive into startup involving leading the product team at Goldman Sachs. Wow. And was involved in the quickest acquisition ever in the entire history of the fintech. 6 months. Wow. Next, Raymond joined Hypersciences, a technology company with over 40 patents that provide solutions for NASA and Shell. Raymond and his partner successfully raising capital in the 17th largest cloud equity finance round ever in the whole world, 12 million and plus. Wow. Today, Raymond is super passionate about reinventing the social media world. He is a co-founder and CEO of ibble, a social media platform that focuses on exploring perspective through interactive video and audio conversation. ibble believes that we can replace the echo chamber of a social media by making it super easy to share diverse opinions, both publicly and privately. With that, everybody, I am so excited. Thank you so much, Raymond, for joining us. And welcome to the show, everybody.
Thank you so much, Wen. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, Raymond, tell us, how does all the magic begin in your journey?
Good parents.
Tell us more. Where you from?
Chicago. So I grew up in south side of Chicago and had a phenomenal family. Mom was great to us and tried to sacrifice as much as she could to send me and my sister to private schools and make sure we're well supported. And then my dad was a teacher, and teachers still to this day don't make a ton of money. So he was painting houses at night and doing anything he could to make sure that me and my sister had a good life and good support. So I think that's where it all started, and great teachers along the way and people that pushed me.
How does that childhood experience, when your parents are dedicate so much love and support to you and your sister, how does that impact who you are today, Raymond?
Yeah, I think when we're younger, we don't appreciate it. And you
Yeah.
go back, I mentioned this a while back. We don't think how wise our parents are until we get older, and then we look back and we're like, wow, they actually knew what they were talking about.
Yeah.
But I think it was amazing. The work ethic of my mom and dad were amazing. But what was exciting for me is I didn't realize it, but I think the part of my dad rubbed off on me because of the teaching experience. Even though it's a social media platform, kind of the core that sits behind it all is democratizing mentorship and making learning accessible and learning new things that you don't realize you're curious about. A lot of platforms make you choose your interest, and ibble really tries to focus on, like, you might not know that you really like lock picking or you really like woodworking, but you end up in being a fly on the wall to an amazing conversation, or see people that are super passionate about something they love, and then through their experiences, you start finding love for it and learning more. And I think if we always go back to probably the teachers that we respected the most, it probably was the difference of like the ones that were super passionate about what they were doing. And so I believe that's what we're doing on ibble, is bringing people that are super passionate about something and highlighting them.
Why does it matter to you so much, Raymond?
I think we've lost our way on social media. There's been it's caused a lot of hurt and depression out there, and it didn't seem like that big of a problem, like problem to solve. It felt like it could be solved through technology really easily, but I was really surprised why nobody was doing it. We
Mm-hmm.
social media has created a lot of divide, and I thought that there was a better way, and I was just surprised nobody was really pushing the needle to solve the problem, and got together with a great group of people and started marching to the top of the hill, and along the way we had some amazing people join us on the journey, and super happy where we're ending up right now.
Wow. So you want to be the change you want to see in the world.
I think so. I mean, like I don't have. I think most people that meet me, I try to stay out of the spotlight for the most part, and I don't want to have an ego. I just want to help solve problems, and it's something I've always loved to do from my time at NASA, time before that, and different companies that I've been part of, and each company I've joined had a really specific problem we were trying to solve. Honest Dollar, the one that was acquired by Goldman Sachs, we were trying to solve retirement. Hypersciences was trying to solve access to space or solve energy problems, making energy globally accessible. And I think they're really close to that goal. And ibble solving social media and making conversations more accessible.
So you are really an engineer at heart.
Oh, I love being an
You want
engineer.
to solve problems.
Yeah, that's exactly who I am. I love it.
And I love that. And let's circle back to the journey because I'm so curious about how do you become who you are today? So you mentioned earlier you grew up in Chicago in a windy city with amazing parents.
Yeah.
First of all, the dream is be NASA, which is not an easy dream.
It was, I've told this story a few times, but I think you have to have people that push you along the way. And I love this story. I'm in college, and Brittany, if you're out there listening, props to you. Thank you. So I had met this great fellow student, and I was just chatting with her about, like what she's going to do in her career. And she was already interning, working on the space station program. And I was like most people, like, wow, how do you end up there? And she just looked at me and said, you apply. And it's something that's held to me like for years, because think about how many people like self-sabotage or prevent themselves from succeeding just because they don't even attempt it. The answer is always going to be no if you don't even take the shot. So I took that, and she, was giving me high praise and saying, like how you think and how your mind is, like you would fit in perfectly, and I'll vouch for you. And I put in my stuff, and a few months later, I heard from this amazing guy that was my first manager over there, and we hit it off. And after graduating, after a few months, now I'm at NASA.
Wow. Is that a dream that you think about for a long time before that moment of conversation, or that was the moment starting?
I had on my wall, I had memorabilia and everything. I think a lot of people, right? They grow up and they have the few things they want to go and do. And some people want to be pilots. Some people want to be astronauts, lawyers, doctors. Like it's the typical ones. And I was one of those kids that wanted to be an astronaut. My mom remembers me taking apart everything in the house, everything, and shocking myself a few times, like taking apart electronics and like really wanted to know how they worked while they were on.
Wow.
And like, so they're shaking. I'm like, what's going on? No, you're actually getting an electric shock right now.
Wow.
So yeah, I always wanted to work in space. I always wanted to be an engineer. I looking back, I think it's like something that's programmed in my head. I just love taking apart things. I love the idea of understanding how things work is fascinating to me. And it's more than just like mechanical things. Like Wen and I just went on a tour of our facility here, and it's something it's interesting. I didn't realize everything I'd been doing in my life of like learning how the intricacies of cameras, or learning how to program. Because when I started college, I was in computer engineering, and then moved to mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and then and then did a few other engineering backgrounds for my master's and other stuff. But like learning different backgrounds was really important to me. And then when we built ibble, we have a full-fledged, studio, we have a full-fledged engineering team, and we have design teams. And it was interesting because like the fact of going out and learning not just how mechanical devices work, not just how software works, but like how the human brain works and why, kind of led us to trying to solve this problem.
I love that. And thank you for adding that detail, because I want people to understand that the fact that you made your dream come true, be part of NASA team, is not just a moment of conversation with your fellow classmate and that happened. It's really the years of preparation met that one moment of sparked, and that become the reality.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I had an amazing mentor there too, and he was our computer science instructor, and I was working in the computer labs, and I knew I wanted to be an engineer at that point, so I was taking like a lot of physics classes and AP stuff, and just learning, and I mean, I knew I wanted to all the way from being a young kid, I knew I wanted to be an engineer. I never thought I would end up in the startup world. I still remember the conversation I had with someone, and I'm like, "What's a startup?" When I was at NASA, and I said, "How do you? What is this?" Because once you work in the government, it's a strange concept. It's not just a business. It's like, wait, we're gonna go and raise a whole bunch of money and build something, then with a high risk. I mean, it's in the name, right? Like you're taking venture capital, you're going out on an adventure. It's probably not going to work out.
So let's talk about it. Like now you're in NASA, right? After a couple years in a row, like this is a dream come true. After
So much
years
fun.
of childhood, envisioning that moment, what made you to pivot? What made you to curious about the private sector?
Yeah, it was okay. So, and I tell this story every good journey starts with someone pushing you, like I mentioned, and so I ended up at NASA because a person pushing me, and then so I'm at NASA. I'm on the final mission for the space shuttle program. So we did closeout. I was doing cargo avionics, so we did cool stuff like the final Hubble resupply mission, where we basically like fixed Hubble to kind of lead us all the way up until this moment where James Webb is ready. And so so working on that stuff was really fun. And then when the shuttle program ended, I went to the International Space Station program. So then I'm over there for I think 5 years, and I had an amazing mentor, someone that pushed me, and then an amazing manager and a senior manager over there, and both of them were super supportive and kind of took me under their wing and showed me everything they knew, and it prepared me for this path. And along the way, I met this amazing person also, and she really pushed me to like, hey, what's the next step for you? And I said, well, if I stay here, I mean, my journey is going to be eventually I'll be, I'm a lead engineer already, so I'll be a senior engineer, so I'll be a maybe a manager in a few years, and then from manager I'll be this, and it's like that incremental path. And so she had an entrepreneur background, so her background was like, well, is there a way we can leapfrog that? And and you hear that a lot with people that go and do like you have a MBA, right?
Yeah.
So like a lot of people will go and like get advanced education because it allows them to leapfrog different paths, which is amazing. I mean, I did the same thing. And she's like, well, how can we leapfrog it? And I started reaching out to all the great relationships I had met along the way. Head of the space shuttle program, head of engineering for Johnson Space Center. So like these amazing, talented folks that I had cultivated these great relationships with, and they said, hey, we're going to push you into this program that will kind of send you away to school again and get some additional education. And I started down my path to get into that program, and it was going to send me over to MIT and I think it was like 2 degrees at MIT or MIT Harvard joint program. I can't remember at this point, but I was really excited about that. I got all these mentorship things, and I was going down that route, and I was kind of weighing my options of what was out there. And along the way, in like my dad had passed away a few years in that band, and so I was trying to find a way to honor him, and a company had spawned up, and it was like, looking back, it was like the stupidest thing ever, right? Because not the company, but me, because I don't think they had closed funding yet. They were a startup, but they were solving a problem that mattered a lot to me, which was my dad had passed away literally on his day that he was going to retire. So he had pushed off retirement. Now he's like, I'm going to retire. I'm going to move to Texas, because he moved from Chicago to Texas. And so we're getting into like Friday right before Christmas. And so he's like, I'm done. I'm retiring. I'm going over to hand over my books. Someone will else pick up the classes. And so I'm going to meet you, or like meet that person at school. And I was talking to him even the night before, and like he was really excited to move to Texas. And then he goes and drives to school and has a heart attack, literally his last day.
Oh.
And so the fact of this ended up being an underlying theme that I'm still trying to solve. So the iteration of the startups were, well, we all think about having fun and excitement and relaxation and retirement. And my dad never got to get there. And he sacrificed all of his life and saving cash and everything. And it never materialized for him. So that was kind of the first path of like, how can I solve this? So I wanted to honor him. I heard of this startup that was going to be solving retirement. And at first I was like, this is the solution, right? And the solution was, to honor him was, go and help a company that will help you be stress-free and get you to retirement, maybe help you retire a few years later or a few years earlier. And so you could enjoy retirement. And I realized along the way that wasn't the right answer. It's a great company, and it got purchased by Goldman, and they repurposed the platform internal to I think Marcus now. And so amazing concept, but I started changing what the solution was. And then I thought, well, the better solution is, instead of worrying about making sure you're secure during retirement, what if you enjoy the path along the way? So when ibble was started, even though I did these other startups, it actually started out as a financial platform. And how I was trying to approach it was, well, what if we could, help you save, invest, everything else, but it took into account that, like, maybe you want to prepare for a wedding, maybe you want to go on a vacation, maybe you want to snowboard, maybe you want to have fun along the journey, right? And what was interesting is a component of ibble was we were doing a video show during it, and we were saying, like, let's kind of highlight the coolest things that are happening. And this is before a lot of, now there's we were calling it ibble Bits, and this company Robinhood came out with Robinhood Snacks, Bits Snacks, like a month, 2 months after we started running the show. And so, our idea was go and just show the cool things that are happening in tech. And along the way, we started opening up, and we built a UGC platform, user generated content platform, for users to share their concepts. And they started sharing it, and I was getting really excited because I'm like, wow, this is also honoring my dad, because it's like education, and he was a teacher. So this is like, he taught his finite amount of students, and this is a way to like build a platform that can teach hundreds of millions of people, infinite, right? And around the world, and change generations. So I was like, this is the answer, right? This is the solution I've been looking for. And so I doubled down into that, because the data was showing that it was actually a better platform. And and then we ended up here.
Wow.
So kind of.
Raymond, thank you for sharing that, because, from outside, you're a hardcore engineer, you're in NASA, I feel like a dream come true. And I think oftentimes people probably puzzling, how do you shift from that engineer tied up, persona, people imagine who you are, versus not only hardcore engineer, but solving a complex and different type of problem. And that really explains, and thank you for sharing that.
Anytime. But the expand on that, we do some stuff like that on ibble, because we have this concept that, like, you're more than like, you're a person, not a personality. And on social media, and YouTube and podcasts and everything else. If you become the wacky comedian or you become whatever, you become typecast, and now you can't get away from it, right? Your YouTube channels or your Instagram channels and everything are defined of how you grew your audience. And if you try to change your audience, let's say you're a sports player and everybody's following you for your sports commentary behind the scenes and everything else, and you want to start talking about cooking, you probably lose some of your audience. And so those are some of the concepts that we started going into, which is like, we're more than personalities. We are people. Like, there's more to our personality than a single-sided.
I love that.
And so how do we build a platform that can show that? And we built a whole bunch of features around, hey, you can follow Wen for her background on startup mentorship, but you could also follow Wen for maybe like, her fitness routines, and you can follow Wen also for her background on like mental health. And so it allows you to like subscribe on a person's profile into different areas and really care about different threads or different concepts. And we thought that's the way to kind of also solve social media, which is like allow people to grow that way.
I love that we are more than just one personality type.
Yep.
Well said. So Raymond, I'm curious, back in the time that you were in NASA, you had this maybe a rough vision about what private sector looked like. And was it difficult for you to make that jump? Because you were in NASA, you were in one of your own dream job for years to come, and so many people's dream still.
Yep.
Was it hard to leave that? It's not a comfort zone, but it's a beautiful, incredible spot to explore somewhere that a little bit unknown.
Yes.
Was that hard choices?
It was. I think choices become easier with if you have rough stuff going on in your life. And I had gone through, some difficult stuff at that moment, and I felt like it was the right time. I think when you're stable and you're happy and everything's really exciting, why take risk? It's kind of like opposite. People are like, oh, you're stable and you got a whole, like you're doing extremely well, so you can take risk. It's like, it's actually the other side. It's like when you're unstable,
when you have nothing to lose.
When you have nothing to lose, then why not go into it? And I was trying to get back to, it wasn't just like the startup. It was, honoring my dad, like I mentioned, but also I wanted to get back to like a fun city. And I was living in Houston. Nothing against Houston. I think it was a great spot. I was in Clear Lake, and amazing people, and I built some great friendships there. But I was thinking back, and I asked myself this simple question, like, when was I most happy? And at the time when I was, this is 8 years ago, I said, well, I was most happy when I was actually on campus in college, because I was exploring new concepts. I was walking every night in the city, in the beautiful lights of Chicago. I was walking distance to every restaurant where I have to drive anywhere. And I got to see amazing musicians every night. And I said, well, even if this doesn't work out, that sounds pretty fun to me. And so, and I had visited Austin, and I still have this cherished memory. I came to Austin for the first time. It's like 10 years ago, 11 years ago. Surprisingly, I was in Texas for 8 years, and I hadn't visited Austin. And it rained, and it was down here on 6th Street. So our office is right here on 6th Street, and it rained. And I remember guys and girls, like the girls were pulling off their heels and dancing in the rain, and the guys were dancing in the rain, and the music from the bars were coming out. And it was just like, I still, when I talk about it, I can see it in my head. And it was that moment I'd be like, wow, that like the sense of freedom, the sense of excitement, and like, there was just something really powerful. And then when I started walking through the city, it's like everybody was saying hi. And I don't know if I think it's still about the same, but especially like everybody was so welcoming, and I just knew it was the right city for me at the moment.
Wow. So you feel home.
Yeah, I found my home.
That's incredible.
I will never leave this place. Great.
Amazing. So tell us, how does that journey take from there? Now you jump into the private sector that first time, get your feet wet. Was that everything you expected or more?
It was a tornado. It was like, never did a startup, and when you're at NASA, I had had all these like really famous moments that got written about by press, but perfect. Maybe I was the perfect person for the personality, or maybe the situation changed my personality. But NASA is always very big of like, we are NASA, a person is not NASA. And so, like, even though I would have big wins there, or we'd solve big problems and like prevent disasters or save lives, it was always like, there was never really one person that was spotlighted. And so, which I really loved, because it's like, let's all celebrate together.
I love that.
And, so then we start getting, like, our company started to get spotlighted, and it was very strange for me because I wasn't used to like having people like, oh, you're at that cool startup, and like, it just was weird, right? It was something that I wasn't expecting. The funny thing is the stress that NASA had, the way we had learned to tolerate stress, kind of changed me in a good way. I think in a good way, that when a lot of people would maybe buckle under pressure of a startup, it just was a normal day for me, right? So it made doing the startup easy. It wasn't hard. It was hard work, but there was nothing difficult about it. And we had a great team, and we got recognized really quick. And within a few months, we had a acquisition notice. I mean, very quickly, and Goldman, large chunk of cash. And we went through about a 6-month due diligence process. So so strange. Like, we're sitting there like at South by Southwest. So not the date this episode, because I don't know when it's going to air, but we're going to South by Education started already, and South by Southwest Interactive is going to start on Friday. And so almost 8 years to the date we were sitting here, and we had announced the company. So I had joined the company before South by Southwest. And so I'd been here for over 8 years. And then at South by, we announced the company. And the craziest thing is, product wasn't even built. It was like, we were still putting it together. We were still piecing it together. We were putting people on a wait list. I mean, typical startup life. And then a few months later, Goldman's like, hey, we want to buy this. And then we went through due diligence, and then the following year at South by, here we're announcing the acquisition is complete and the money's changed hands, and now we're part of Goldman. And it was just this bit like crazy whirlwind of a year. And then we get acquired into Goldman, which is honestly a phenomenal company, super smart people. But to me, it was like, compared to NASA or compared to the first startup, there wasn't that like, go. It was like, okay, let's just incrementally grow this thing. Let's put more bodies at it. And it was very strange for me. It wasn't what I was expecting, because when you're the startup and corporate life are different. I think that's why you usually hear after acquisitions, most of the people don't stay too much longer. And right at the 2-year marker, when we were past our earnout, I was on to my next startup.
And you're never afraid, never look back.
I learned something, and I will, for your listeners, I will give you the best advice I've ever received in my life. And I will say this is the best advice. There's no decision you can make that you can't unwind. And when you understand at the core that no matter what decision you make or what you do today, whatever you do, that you will be okay, like you will be fine, you're unstoppable. And let me unpack that so you understand that.
Yes, please.
You, who you are, with your background and your MBA and who your personality is and how you bring yourself to conversations, there's nothing that can take that away, unless you were like hurt in a car crash or something like that, right? So we could walk out the studio right now, and someone could go and say, like, come with a magic wand and say, all your money is gone and your house is gone, and you have no personal possession. And so you're nothing. You have nothing. All your bank accounts are zeroed out. But who you are, I'm pretty confident that you would leave the studio and you'd be like, because of the relationships you've built and the connections and how your mind works, you would probably call up a friend and couch surf for a week, and you probably have a job within a following week. And within 6 months, we'd be looking back and you'd be at some major corporation growing and being back. And maybe in a year, you'd be in a house and like owning your own house. And it'd be that fast trajectory of building back up. So when you understand that there's nothing that can take away who you are and what you are, then there's no decision that you can't make that should be scary. It makes you unstoppable. And if you can approach that, it's the most powerful feeling, because like when we went out there, I just questioned things of like, hey, we're gonna build the biggest social media company ever. I'm gonna take out Facebook one day. People are like, what? How? And I said, why not? Right? What's the worst that's gonna happen? I'll fail. And they're like, yeah, you'll fail. And be like, yeah, who cares? It's a game. It's like life can be if you approach it like this, life can be a game.
I love that concept, but I have to ask, do you always never afraid of failure? And how does that come from the first time?
Work now. I mean, you get stressed about it. You don't want to fail. And we're putting a lot of assets and a lot of time and money and people into South by Southwest. Is there a chance that it might not succeed? Sure. Somebody's got to try it. I mean, that's the whole idea, again, of venture capital. It's like, we're going on an adventure. Like, I'm going to build a company that's, worth 100 billion plus one day. And so this is the first steps you have to take to get there. So
I love that, Raven, you have unwavering courage to follow your heart and not let any circumstance define who you are, but your own vision, which is so admirable.
Thank you. I appreciate it. The other thing I learned that I think is pretty cool is don't be tied to what you're trying to build, because you might not realize it.
That's so hard. How do you do that?
Just be open, right? Like, it's like if you started painting and you started out drawing, started drawing a ranch on a picture, and you get halfway through and you're like, wait, it's actually something different. It's an abstract drawing. Cares, right? Like, just go, like, roll with the punches. Because that was one of our VCs told me that, and I said, why did you believe in me? And they said, very successful CEOs, they see one core concept or one core attribute, and the attribute is they quickly learn from everybody that they surround around them, and then they can apply those learnings, and they're willing to adapt extremely quickly. And they're not one of our VCs told us this like amazing story of one of their funds, and then the guy has pivoted like 20 something times along the way, and he got close to failure on each pivot, but he just kept on moving, and now the company's worth like $6 billion.
Wow.
And so, but you hear about that all the time of like a lot of companies, and I can go down the list, right? Like Slack was an internal company, and they built an IRC layer on top of it that was just to help remote clients. Shopify started out as selling snowboards and skateboards. Twitter was a company that was failing, and they had only a few months left until they ran out of money, and they told everybody, hey, go and try to build something else. And so one of the engineers that was not the founder of Twitter went and created Twitter and even named Twitter, and they took that idea from him. So you hear about these journeys all the time of companies that are willing to risk it all and try different things. I mean, and usually they're the ones that win out along the way.
I love that you talk about pivoting, because in my opinion, I think pivot is a name of a game in the startup world. So let's talk about ibble. You mentioned that it's starting off as a complete different business than today. Like, tell us about how's that vision come about and the journey from there.
Um, yeah, it started out, like I said, as a financial platform, and we had the user generated content that was out there. Every time we release a new feature, we learn from the user. So um, I think it's been a constant journey of just learning from people. Like we have this amazing way of, it's a conversation platform, so
Mm-hmm.
allowing people to collaborate in conversations how and when they want to respond. So how they can do it with video, they can do it with audio if they want. If they don't want to be on video, they
Mm-hmm.
can do it with text if they want to be on text more than commentary. And it's almost like a collaborative Instagram story. The the stage, you can choose who wants to be on the stage. So maybe you and I are the only ones chosen to be here,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody else can watch. Or we can make this a collaborative environment, and you and I start it,
Mm-hmm.
but anybody can jump on stage at any point in time. You could also make it you and I, and it's a private conversation. So just
Mm-hmm.
us, or us with our group of friends that can participate.
Wow.
And so we wanted to kind of make a very robust way of thinking about things. We've doubled down into this concept called sparking, and I try to take a lot of common language that we use. So like, oh man, that sparked something with me, or that got my brain, like it sparked a concept, it sparked a
Mm.
conversation. And so what the whole point of sparking is, like, let's say we're on stage and we're discussing something. Anybody that's on the platform, if this is public, they could spin off that conversation and then invite their group of friends to discuss what we're talking about. And it gives a good reference point to where the idea
Mm.
came from. So
Mm.
we get almost like credit
Mm-hmm.
for coming up with the idea. And we do this already, right? Like, how many times have you sent an article over a group text message and your friends talk about it?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if you could go and do that, but make your friends talking about it, but make that conversation publicly
Mm-hmm.
viewable
Mm-hmm.
to get other people's minds moving and thinking about stuff, where then
Mm-hmm.
you could spin off another conversation, another conversation, another conversation. Because
Wow.
we see this with like news. See something on the news, we get excited about it, we go to our water coolers and we talk about it. But the thing that we lose is, because who we surround ourselves with,
Mm-hmm.
the water cooler that you're around is going to be your echo chamber that you've naturally surrounded because of the people you work with or people you surround yourself with, and mine are going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
But what if a kid in a different country that doesn't have access to these amazing thought leaders or amazing conversations or amazing perspective could
Mm.
peer in and see what people are saying and the way that they're thinking about it? Let me give another
Wow.
example. Let's say we in the United States are seeing all this stuff happening in Ukraine and Russia. Maybe what matters more is listening to people that are in Russia or in Ukraine, and what are they saying? Not what is the news saying, but what are they saying, so we could actually hear different perspective. Because I think through hearing people,
Mm-hmm.
we can build empathy, and we lose that on social media.
Mm-hmm. So you want authentic representation of the human voice rather than a media interpretation of what it is.
Yes.
I love that. And I love the concept so much because, I come from a mountain town where I never grew up with internet. I don't grow up with even public transportation.
Mm.
Where I come from, I mean, if you want to Google, there's no Google, first of all. But if you want to find out where is a yoga class in the town, you had to drive around the motorcycle around the town, seeing the sign, and hopefully they have a number, and you call, and you show up second day or the day after. And
Mm.
that's how it is. If you are sick, it's not about how to find the hospital. It's about who do you know, your cousins, sisters, husbands, brother who are the doctors. So you make connection that way. You make appointment. It's all about who you know and the second hand, third hand, fourth hand information you receive,
Mm-hmm.
and based on that. And how I grew up, I always just so curious about the world beyond the container I was in. I just felt it would be so magical one day that all the information is readily available to reach. And I thought that was such a dream come true. And I thought what you're just describing is literally what I was imagining.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely hear what you're saying. It's we're trying to change a lot of things. I think a lot of people are really privileged and um, excitable to have access to great people,
Mm-hmm.
but there's so many people around the world that don't. I mean, like, growing up, I knew, I didn't have any friends that were neuroscientists. I didn't have any friends or parents or anything or anybody in my network that I could even talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And I look back, and I have a amazing friend, my friend Jordan, that's this like really renowned neurosurgeon. And I told him, I'm like, if I would have had accessibility, I think I actually would have probably gone into the background, but I didn't even have anybody that could get me excited about that concept. And then I look at, like, I have friends and family members and other people that they've asked me to mentor them, and they're from smaller towns, and they're what we mirror of what we see. And if you're from a small town or you're from an area that doesn't have that, it's like, well, if you're in a town that, like, there's a baker and there's a the one doctor, like, you're probably picking and choosing from the people that you see because you like them and you idolize them and you want to mimic them. So we thought ibble was a great place to be like, well, we have like music producers on there, and we have artists, and we have doctors, and we yoga specialists, and everything, right? And if you can see everything, you can, it opens your eyes. If you're a child, right now we're 18 and up only, but we've heard from people that they've reached out and like, wow, I didn't even realize, like, I was interested in that. And I can see if once we make this available to younger folks and we make it globally open, because right now we're expanding it into Canada and Mexico. It's in the United States already, but as we move it into Europe and Asia and other countries, I think it's going to be amazing that people are going to realize different career paths, different things that are interesting, different ways that they can earn a living, or they're going to find their tribe that they just never knew were there.
Wow. Raymond, tell us about, what's your vision? What is the future? What is one that you hope the world will be like with the technology, with a solution go globally?
I think we've created so much divide on social media, and we get wound up of the littlest things. And so I think if you could peer into a conversation, it's not two people yelling at each other, but it's like a group of friends kind of talking about their thoughts.
Yeah.
I think it will build empathy. And so it's not just like expanding human connection. It's not expanding like intelligence, but it's building that empathy. And I think if we can do that, maybe we get into less arguments with folks, and overall, like, we're gonna have more well-rounded next generation, a more well-rounded group of youth. And it's something I really hope and dream that we can do with social media. That I think the days that people, I mean, we'll always have vanity, right? Like, but I think the days of, like, even on TikTok, we're seeing this. It started out like being all dancing and all beautiful men and women on the platform. And now you're seeing more people centering in on the education side and the teaching side, but it's one directional. It's broadcast mode. It's like, here's what I'm doing, and just listen. And that's typical teaching. No, like, what was the best teacher that you had probably growing up? It was probably the one that was like, tell me what you think about this. Like, what's your thoughts? And creating that bi-directional, because, like, you can be taught to, you can be spoken to, but when you can speak with, that's when you're engaging different sides of your mind. You're having to question things. You're having to articulate, and that's what we're trying to go. Because right now, this is the equivalent of like the 1980s MTV, where we're channel surfing, we're hitting buttons on the TV, and we're moving between videos. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. I'm done with that. I want to move on to something else. There's something better. The social media can be so much more. It can be this interactive way. Like, yeah, if you wanna just consume, swipe, because that's how we built ibble. Swipe up to find new conversation. Swipe in to find new ones, or dig in further. And if you know something specific you want to do, search. If you find someone you like, follow. If you find a topic or a hashtag you care about, hashtag mental health, hashtag South by Southwest, follow it. Now you're going to start seeing all the content that surrounds it. And so done with it, pull it away. So we're like, I think we've overcomplicated social media. And I think the reason why we've overcomplicated it, or we've created this crack style mechanism of like MTV, of like channel surf, or like old cable TV, channel surf, move to the next thing. I think it was because, you know, tech companies saw how much money they can make through ads. Same way that, you know, old cable TV found how much money they can make through ads. Like show 6 minutes of an episode, show 3 minutes of commercial content, and repeat, and do that all day long, and create content that pulls you in and keeps you attached and keeps you watching TV and watch more commercials. And so you became the product. And I just don't like that. I that's why we haven't, you know, like how we think of where we can go with our monetization platform in the future, where it's all creator centric. I just think that's a better way. We saw companies like Patreon and even though we're not going to be this platform, like OnlyFans, go out there and make it available to creators to be like, hey, you can make money through your folks supporting you. I think ibble can be this amazing path of creators being supported, mental health, physical, like weight loss trainers, artists, cinematographers, music producer, everything, right? Like every single background can be supported by, if you wake up in the morning and a creator created a piece of content that made you smile and made you excited, you should support them. That's something I've been really hammering home with the team of let's make sure we build an ecosystem that a young creator that for some reason has got a knack of educating the world of botany, if they're doing that kind of stuff, then maybe let them do their thing because they're bringing joy to the world. They're sharing education, and they should be compensated for it. And that's a lot of the stuff we start building.
I love what you said about everybody got to share whatever's in their heart. And the way how I see it is, I think the whole world, you know, you and me, him and her, we are all that little light bulb. And if your light bulb can be 1 pixel brighter, but just go after, share whatever's in your heart. Could be funny, could be cool, could be uncool, in whatever people's definition. Who cares? The whole world is a brighter and happier place. And I love that you create a platform to democratize the access to ability to share, to evangelize what is in their heart. So beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm the first person to say this. Our platform's not perfect, and we're learning, but I think it's really important. This little company from Austin, Texas, is taking on the tech giants of the world, and every day I see the platform get better and smarter and more awesome creators, and it makes me so happy inside knowing we're building something that's important. I heard a quote from one of our creators, just made me like honestly like go home like pretty emotional on this, and she went and did an event, and she did a tarot card event on ibble, and we saw like 200,000 views on the thread and like 200 questions. And then we saw another event go up a week later, and we heard from this other creator that was like in her thread, she was having people ask questions and stuff like that. And unlike Instagram Live and Twitch, where you're talking and we're trying to concentrate and we're seeing comments go flying by, so we can't separate what we're doing to answer what that person is saying. Like people that are listening to this, you guys don't realize it, but we have a screen right there. And so even if something was on that screen, we're not going to break our attention to probably address that. But the cool thing about ibble is because it's asynchronous. Imagine we've done this conversation and we leave here. When this goes live on all the platforms you have, but also on ibble, the really cool thing is fans that are out there listening to this can go and ask a question of me or of what we talked about here, and we can participate in join in on the conversation together about what we discussed here in our own time, in our own moment, with video, audio, or text. Very powerful statement. And so that happened, that moment happened, and a woman came back and said, listen, I'm used to the comments flying by, but this is actually the first time I've seen or heard my fans, because they actually saw a video question come in and an audio question come in. And the fan that got their question answered, it was this amazing moment. And this was not planned, because I went to them separately and I said, hey, how did it make you feel? The creator said, first time I've seen or heard my fans. The person that asked a question said, hey, this was the first time I felt seen by this celebrity. It's the first time, like, I put comments all the time to all their videos, and I support them on all their Twitch streams, but they took the time to go on video and respond to me, and I felt seen.
Powerful.
And it was just like, just goosebump moment that it was like, wow, they're both saying the same thing, and we're meeting in the middle. So we're building a platform that supports that. We think, like, with podcast, what we're going to be doing at South by Southwest, and what we've been doing in the studio and with all the different things, is like all these important conversations that are out there. If we could give the platform to amazing creators like you to highlight cool conversations and allow fans to participate, we've created a ecosystem that now has democratized mentorship.
I love that. I felt what you're building here is simply celebrate a true connection between one human to another. And that is so beautiful.
Thank you.
So now our audience, like, wow, this is so incredible. What is one thing he or she can do to join this amazing movement at ibble?
Yeah. As cool as awesome studios with beautiful mics are and great lighting, so we look really pretty in front of cameras are, you can do this exact same thing with ibble. You can go and download it, and you could record, do Q&As. You can spin up events if you want your fans to know exactly when you're going to be there. How a lot of people use ibble is they'll create their preview video, and the preview video can be used to be like, hey, in a week or in 2 days, I'm going to be doing this with this person. So get your questions in advance, and the fans can get their questions in with video, audio, text. They can rack and stack them by ranking if they like the question. So when the creator comes back into the platform, all the questions are already preloaded for them, and then they don't run out of things to talk about. That's how you can use Q&A, but the platform's way more than that. You can use it for open-ended conversations. We're seeing stuff already spinning up for South by Southwest. What's the coolest place that you're going to go to during South by Southwest? And it's open conversation. Anybody can join it, and anybody can share their thoughts. That's one great way. And then we have a handful of people that have been using it for vlogging, because you can append to the conversation a second later or a year later. Doesn't matter, anywhere in between. So a good use case for it is, here's the coolest places I've traveled in the world. And you spin up one thread and you record your first. And then as you travel to another cool spot, you add to it. And everybody that was subscribed to that thread will now get a notification that you've added to it. So it's a never ending, almost like Instagram highlight that people are getting notified, and you can collaborate with, and you can tag people in if you want to, and you can add them to this collaborative story. So it's, create your story together and collaborate and tell this journey. So vlogging, Q&As, events, we kind of got it all. So get on there and put whatever you're passionate about. I think people will love it.
That's amazing. So everybody come on the platform, share your heart, because the whole world is waiting to see whatever is you're passionate about.
Yep.
So with that, Raymond, I'm going to circle back to you. Today, what inspired you? What made you happy?
Every day I come into the office, it's fun. I will say, like, it's always a challenge. It's always new things. A handful of us, our team's been staying here most nights to like 3-4 in the morning the last 2 weeks. So very little sleep, drinking a lot of coffee, trying to get through South by. And but I wouldn't change it. It's so much fun. It's like the freedom of coming into something that you're building something so powerful that can change the world, and seeing, you know, for people that are listening, if you had a company before, you would understand the statement. If you haven't, I just when you leave a comment or you rate it in the app store to entrepreneurs like myself, or when, it means so much. It's like we pour our hearts and souls into these things, and you know, you sacrifice a lot of your personal relationships and your free time and everything, and to make this happen. And um, you know, um, I haven't seen my girlfriend as much recently, and I haven't um, uh, spent as much time with my friends, and even talking to my mom as much, right? Like I called her the other day, like midnight, and I'm like, I just realized I haven't talked to you in 4 days. And, um, you know, those are some things that are really matter to us. It makes, you know, people that are really trying to solve big problems really feel, um, you know, it matters. I saw this like really emotional thing a while back, that like when Elon was first creating SpaceX, and um, some of the astronauts, some of the original Apollo astronauts were kind of like critiquing him, and like he took it like so hard, like, and SpaceX was such a new company, they really haven't, and like he was like depressed, right? He was like, I'm trying, right? He's trying to go and do something different and grow. Now everybody looks back and they're like, oh, what a genius, right? But like those initial moments are really hard for a creator, and so so just know that you know, support and stuff like that matters. But I'm excited to build some cool stuff and have you all enjoy it. But yeah, I enjoy coming into the office every night, every day, building cool stuff, working with the great team that we have here. I don't want to call them out by name because I'll forget one person and I'll feel bad. But the team's been honestly phenomenal, and everybody's pushing really hard. And the fact of knowing you're so well supported, and it's just, it makes you feel happy.
One day, when we all go to this place called heaven, what would you wish on your graveyard? Or capstone? What do you want that to be?
Um, that's a hard one. Like, maybe like I helped when I could.
Mm.
And so, like, I'm not perfect, and I'm not ever gonna try to be, but you know, a lot of the stuff I try to do is trying to help the world, and I hope people see that. It's not coming from an ego place. It doesn't come um from like trying to be wealthy point or anything else. Everything we do is or everything I do at least is all focused on just trying to help, because I feel like I have everything I need. You know, like it's such an interesting background. I'm putting this in my book. Another cool core moment that like your listeners might like. I'm writing a book one day, and I was thinking of something, and I wrote out my ideal life. And I wrote out every single line item, and I spent like a month doing it. Every time I thought of something new, I wrote it out there. And some of it came from like a vanity standpoint, like I want these cool cars, right? Or I want this vacation home, or I want this, right? And then then I had this like master list, and it's like without any bound, right? Like without any restriction, without any money, without anything. Like how much would that cost, or how much energy would it take, and everything, right? And then what I did was I created a new column in the spreadsheet, and I said, what can I achieve today? So like, let's say it says like, I want to have a personal trainer. Just throw that one out there. Well, my friend Mark and my friend Cisco are both like amazing, incredible in shape, and they invite me all the time to the gym. So that line item is gone. I can achieve the same thing of hiring a full-time personal trainer to that. Or like, I want to have a personal chef. I can go to Snap Kitchen, right? And like, it's to that level, right? Like, I want to have a really nice,
that.
like, you know, like I want to be able to go on X amount of vacations per year. I get invited all the time to like with friends to go, or go camping. Like I think some of the best things in life are free. And so you can start going through and you start knocking it out and you realize, and this is another powerful moment, you realize you could live probably 80% of your ideal life right now, today, if you just change your perspective.
Wow, Raymond. So powerful because, of course, everything we want is not just what we want, the thing, it's actually a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want it, you can wait. You can have it right now. Why wait?
Yeah.
But you are the first person I ever met, put in such a tangible forms. And of course, you're an engineer, so that really helps.
Starts with a spreadsheet. Always starts with a spreadsheet.
And wow, Raymond, you are so practical. You are so humble, and yet you have such a vision. And every single day, you put your action towards what you really want to make a difference, and that's just truly inspiring.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Last but not the least, Raymond, what would you tell to fellow entrepreneurs who are maybe in a journey, maybe just in the process of raising their capital, or maybe just raise the first round? Like, it's a long journey. What would you tell him or her? What would you wish that you know when you're earlier stage?
There's so many things that I can unpack here. I can throw out a few different small things. Me and my friend Tina Day did a podcast recently for Tim Draper and those folks, and I shared some stuff on there, and Tina echoed it. If you're out raising money, realize that your VCs also have raised money. They've raised money to create the fund. So if your VC has raised money for building a farm, and you're going to them of trying to build an oil field, it's not going to be a match. So know who you're pitching to, and put everything in the format that they're expecting. Because if you try to create a pitch deck off of your mind, it's like it doesn't work out. And so the people that can easily raise money are the ones that can communicate their idea easily and have put it in a simple way that it fills the thesis of what a VC is raising. And I ran against the window 80 plus times when I was raising capital for the first time myself, not realizing that I needed to pitch and tell my story in a way that the fund would resonate with, or that they wanted to raise money on that fund. Because if, like, I want to go to Andreessen right now, what's their theme? What is their new Fund 40? Like, what's it meant to support? They have a thesis. So that's one. And then you're going to doubt yourself constantly throughout the battle. Surround yourself with entrepreneurs that you consider that are more successful than you, and use them as your support system to just bounce ideas when you can, and always give more than you take. I think that's something important. The ones that you lose a lot of respect in industry if you're always taking. So go and selflessly give, and then when you need something, it's not a question of if they have time for you. Everybody's more than happy to help.
Wow. Raymond, thank you so much. Incredible advice. And one thing I truly admire so much about you is not only because you are smart, you are intelligent, but above all, you're just such a great human being.
I appreciate it.
You're just a wonderful human. I feel like you just truly here want to help, want to support, want to give. And I think truly the world, it is a better place when you visualize all that dream in your heart. And thank you for everything you do.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed today as much as I do. And we cannot wait to see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
See ya.